So let's see. Hopefully, I don't get DC'd again. Let me just set a few things up quick. I'm gonna watch this clip. And I'm gonna record. Yo, what's up, guys? We're gonna watch Why It's Your Fault You Got Ghosted by Healthy Gamer GG. Let's see what he has to say.
It's essentially about someone who starts to form a healthy relationship, gets overly clingy, overly invested, and then ends up driving the other person away.
That sounds like me.
So why does this happen, and how do we get out of this, right? So I got ghosted. Now I'm wondering if I know how to be in a healthy relationship. So I'm a 30-year-old guy who feels like he drives people away. I can
We
be
are on
wild on wanting to
1.25
be very
speed.
guarded and secretive. I think this stems from a childhood of being bullied by my family for no apparent reason. It was a common occurrence to be told by family that I was an embarrassment, had the wrong personality, was an asshole, or a piece of shit. I remember things like being told as a kid to list out loud the people that would come to my hypothetical funeral as a way of proving to me that no one will mourn my death and be accused of lying when I go to spend time with my friends, because it was unbelievable that anyone would like me. It was hurtful and confusing. It felt like relationships were guessing games where I was always the loser. I became a loner. Now I work hard to connect with new people. I've noticed that when new relationships don't go well, or the way I would like them to, I blame myself. I think a good example of this is a girl I like that I've been talking to since March. When we first started talking, it was amazing how quickly we clicked. It surprised me. We eventually had less time for me as she got busier in her personal life. When she started to get busy, I got nervous. A lot of people have ghosted me, so I fearfully and baselessly suspected she was trying to break contact. I never addressed these feelings with her, though. My response was to text her a lot, almost as if to remind her I still existed. I was stuck in a pattern of wanting to talk to her, but then worrying about giving her space or doing something wrong until I would convince myself to text anyway. Soon my texts grew longer, hers shorter. This would continue until she suddenly blocked me a couple of days ago.
That sounds like
friends have been telling me not to blame myself and that I did nothing wrong. But shouldn't I blame myself? I feel like I drove her away. I genuinely really liked her, even loved her. But I feel like I was stuck in my head, never including her. I also feel like this relationship was burdened by my slowly obsessing over her without paying enough attention to her as an actual person. I feel like I ruined things. Dr. K, how can I have healthy relationships with myself and others going forward? Why do I become guarded and obsessive in relationships? How do I deal with my surprise when women like me back?
Man, the parallels in this one is crazy. So I got bullied by my parents too. Or just because. They made fun of me, and when I would talk back, I would actually get beaten. And how dare I would talk back to them? Like, who am I not to get made fun of? That's what I remember them saying. And how he got in touch with the girl and everything clicked and all, and then she got busy and that made him worry. That's me also. But that's a crazy one as well, for sure. Then thinking not to bother them and still convincing yourself to text them anyways. Messages grow longer, they're shorter. I know all the feel. And particularly in my current heartbreak. These seem to have been going down just as this one. So very interesting. Let's see.
Let's upvote this. All right, so this is a great post. So I like this post for a number of reasons. The first reason I like this post is because the person who posted it is an absolute boss. Okay, so let me compose my thoughts. So this is a post about someone who enters into relationships with people, is guarded, generally speaking, had a very traumatic upbringing, And then something happens in the relationship where they click right away. They get along really well. And then as circumstances in life cause the person that they're talking to kind of pull back, they become very, very clingy and then like end up driving the other person to block them. Okay. So like if this is a post essentially about someone who like starts to form a healthy relationship, gets overly clingy, overly invested, and then ends up driving the other person away. So why does this happen and how do we get out of this, right? So how do we stop being creepy people that women have to block? So the first thing to understand is that this is all about understanding the evolution of your needs throughout a relationship, okay? So to begin with, we have a history of a traumatic upbringing. And so like, this is one question I would ask for this person is when this person was treated traumatically or abusively, how did it make you feel and what did you do? Okay, so this is really important because sometimes when we're treated like abusively, like emotionally abusively, like by parents and other people, we feel responsible for making them feel better and liking us, right? So like if this person is being mean to me, that's not on them, that's on me. And we see the current of self-blame throughout this kind of thing. Then something else is interesting is happening is that this person's, when they go to their friends, right? They're saying like, hey, this situation happened. I started texting this person more and more stuff and they weren't responding to me and they blocked me. Is it my fault? And then your friends do what? They reassure you and they say, no, man, of course it's not your fault. She's a total B word. Like it's totally like, I can't believe she was so cruel to you. Like you're not doing anything wrong. You're doing everything great. And this is where I gotta say, if you find yourself in a pattern of like people blocking you, maybe you need to take some responsibility. And this is why I think this person is an absolute boss because like they're asking this question in a very authentic way, right? They don't want to continue doing this. They're recognizing that there are things going on and that maybe they need to change them. So I would actually say that does this blame lie with you? At least 50% is what I would say. Because remember that in any relationship, you have a contribution. The good news is that the blame does lie with you. You also have the power to change things, right? So you can't have agency without responsibility. Responsibility doesn't come without agency. If I have the power to win, then I also have the power to lose. And so if I get credit for the win, I also have to take credit for the loss. So now let's try to understand what's going on here. And I think the key thing to understand here is the evolution of internal needs as you get clingier and clingier. So in the first phase of the relationship, you meet someone, you'll click right away. So like you have some emotional needs. They're not very powerful at that point because it's early stage in the relationship. And on the other end of the relationship, they're not really powerful as well. Like, you know, you guys are kind of like, you're kind of chilling. You guys like each other. You hang out a little bit. It's a low investment relationship that feels really natural. And then what starts to happen? So like things were fine until this person got busy in their personal life, right? So the girl that this person is talking to starts to get busy. So due to a circumstance in this person's life, they start becoming less available. Now, how does the poster respond to this? This is where things get really interesting because they start to get anxious and they start to get clingy, right? They start to like, even though in their head, they understand that like this person is busier now, so they can't text as much as they used to. That's not the way that you respond emotionally, right? You start to get really, really anxious. You start texting more. Okay. So now you are adding another need into this relationship. And I don't know if this is going to make sense, but now your anxiety, you are actually looking to the other person to fix. So when you send a text, like a long text, what you're looking for is for them to send an equally long text because now you're worried. You're like, oh, what if this person doesn't like me? What if they're drifting away? Let me like do something big in the relationship. Let me send a big text. And if they send a big text back, then I will be soothed. I'll be like, oh, thank God. They really do care about me. Or if they apologize or they say, oh, like I've been really busy lately. I'm sorry I haven't had time for you. Like that's going to make you feel good. So now you're adding a new need, an emotional need into the relationship where you need this person to tell you, hey, I still want to be your friend. Hey, don't worry about it. You're looking for reassurance from that anxiety as this person is starting to pull away. And where does that anxiety come from? It comes from the fact that people have pulled away from you in the past, right? It comes from the idea that like you've been taught that you're like not a worthy person, that people don't want to be your friend. And so now what happens is when you like grow up in a situation where like literally your parents traumatize you by saying, who's going to be at your funeral? Ain't no one going to be at your funeral.
That funeral thing is crazy.
So that samskar, that psychological trauma is carried in your mind. So then when this person starts to pull away because of like work-related stuff or other things going on in her life, that fear in your mind activates. And it's like, oh my God, I know in my head, logically, that this person is just busier, but what if what my parents told me all along is true? That this person they really don't want to be my friend. So to alleviate that anxiety, you send a big text, right? You send a frequent text. And this person, I mean, this is why I think this person's done a lot of introspection. So I want you to look at this. When she started to get busy, I got nervous. So what is the nature of that nervousness? A lot of people have ghosted me. So I fearfully and baselessly suspected she was trying to break contact. This is important. It wasn't baseless. This isn't baseless, right? Because it's happened to you before. You need to validate that feeling. And so here's the thing. So yeah, so my response was to text her a lot, almost as if to remind her I still existed. And this is the key thing that you need to work on. Because at this point, you feel internally that you don't exist in the relationship. So you are trying to get her to tell you, like, hey, you exist in this relationship, you exist in this relationship, right? So now your emotional needs are creating a situation where you are asking something of her without her realizing what you're asking because you have never told her. So you're looking for a sign from her that you still exist in the relationship. But she doesn't know that, right? So like now what's happening is you're feeling all these emotional needs, like you're feeling like clingy and you're feeling like don't pull away, like, hey, please remember I exist. Please remember I'm your friend. Like say something to me. And as you put all of those needs into your text messages, like empathically between the lines, like reading between the lines, like there's something like desperate in those text messages, she gets confused because she's like, what is going on here? Right? And it makes sense because you haven't actually explained to her how you feel. You're just like sending these really long text messages that she's not reciprocating. And so like then she starts to pull away because she doesn't understand what's going on here because now you've added a layer of needs into the relationship that she's unaware of. As she starts to pull away, it reinforces everything, right? So as she pulls away more, the anxiety increases. You need to remind her even more that you exist because as her responses get shorter, you start to disappear in her mind. And as you disappear in her mind, the anxiety gets worse. The need for some kind of response gets worse. The reassurance gets worse. So then you send even longer text messages and you inject an even more powerful need into the relationship. And she gets even more confused because she's like, what's going on here? Like, this guy's sending me like 14 texts and like, what's up with this? And so then what she does is send a shorter response. And as she sends a shorter response, you shrink, right? You become, you start to fade away out of existence even more. And as you feel that fading away, the desperation increases. Hey, remember I'm here. Remember I'm here. I'm a person. I'm a person. I have feelings. Don't forget about me. Please, please, please don't forget about me. That's what your texts start to say. Don't forget about me. I exist. And she doesn't know what to do with that because that's not actually what you're saying, right? She's just getting these really long text messages. And then she has no choice but to block you. And so then what happens when she blocks you, you get reinforced, right? Oh, what my parents said all along is true, is that people don't want to be my friend. That it's like, it's not that I don't deserve friends. Now another person, I've ceased to exist in another person's mind. And then your mind will say, this is how it's been all along. This is the truth of the world. You will never exist in anyone's mind, right? That's what it tells you in those dark moments. It's something, it's the voice in your head that you carry with you that now has been reinforced. And then you go to your friends and you say, hey, what's going on here? And your friends say, oh, don't worry about it. It's no big deal. It's on her. It has nothing to do with you. You're great. You're an awesome person. We like you. And so that can be very reassuring in some way, but you have to remember that if this pattern is repeating in your life, there's a reason it's repeating, right? Like there's a reason, there's something going on that you're injecting into these relationships where people are ghosting you. And I suspect the main thing that you're injecting is this anxiety, this fear that people are like going away. And this person even kind of says it where they kind of say, you know, I get stuck in my own head. And this is where the relationship falls apart because a relationship is between two people. And if you get stuck in your own head, you're like playing your own tune, right? It's like, imagine you're like trying to dance with someone and there's like music playing, but then you've got headphones that's playing a different song. And so you guys are trying to dance in rhythm and they're playing to like the music that's playing and like they're listening to some waltz, okay? Because you're at a wedding. And then you've got like headphones on and you're listening to Tupac. And like the kind of dancing that you're going to be doing to the music in your own head is something that they can't dance to because they don't hear it. So the more you get stuck in your own head, like you're no longer in a relationship, right? Because you're engaging in this relationship with like operating from your own thinking. And if you don't communicate with her, then the other person doesn't understand what you're listening to. They just see you like convulsing on the dance floor and they're like, I don't know how to dance with this person. And so then they step off the dance floor. So are there things that you can do about it? Absolutely. The first thing is like understand when the music starts playing in your head. Because if you look at this relationship, they're saying at the beginning everything's fine, right? So at the beginning we're both dancing the same music.
Just a second.
And then she starts.
Noodles, what's your cash app? If you wanna donate me money, you just press on the money button. Do I have one? I actually haven't received any donation in years, so I have to actually check right now. Oh, there is like a little money button. But I'm not gonna do a flip. And I do not want your money. I'm just saying. But it reminded me that I don't have a donation button. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah.
To get busy at work, and then you're like, your brain is like, I remember this. She's busy at work. Let me put the headphones on and let me start listening to something else. Okay? And then you get stuck in your own head, and then you're operating from that space. You're doing all this work, and then you separate from her, right? So she's over here, you guys are together, and then you start getting in your own head, but like she doesn't understand what's going on here. So like you start to deviate off this way, and then she's kind of going this way, and then it's like, then the relationship falls apart. So if you want to be successful in a situation like this, the first thing to understand is what are the emotions that arise as this stuff happens? And more importantly, as these emotions arise, how do they influence your behavior? Because if you're being driven by emotions to do particular things and they are not on the same wavelength, they're going to be taken aback by what you're doing and they're not going to know how to interact with you. Because now you're dancing to your own tune and they're like trying to dance with you and it's like, hey, we used to be dancing and now you're kind of like dancing on your own. I'm confused. How do I participate in this relationship? And then since people don't know how to have healthy conversations, right? So like, you know, the right thing for her to do in that situation is, hey, like, you're sending me all these text messages, like, what's going on? Like, help me understand what's going on. Like, you know, like, what, like, you seem anxious to me. So ideally, she would be able to prompt the conversation. But instead, what we do is we just ghost people, because that's like what happens nowadays, right? So
That
are you
is what
somewhat
happens nowadays.
responsible if you're in this situation? I'd say yes. I think it's time to take responsibility. Are you to blame? No. So I don't blame you for it. I don't think you're a bad person. I don't think it's like, in a sense, or I'd say is it your fault, sort of, but I think it's absolutely excusable. Because your brain has been programmed in a particular way. You have these fundamental needs that have never been met that allows you to be secure in a relationship. Because this person can't tolerate someone else pulling away from the relationship, even for things that have nothing to do with the relationship, like real life getting in the way, work getting busy. So when someone else pulls away, you can't tolerate that anxiety. You can't tolerate that distance. And when you can't tolerate the anxiety, it causes you to change your behavior. And when you change your behavior, now you're dancing to your own tune. So all the messages are operating from like a place inside your head, which the other person isn't aware of. So they're like, they get freaked the F out and then they start to pull away and then they end up ghosting. So I'd say first, understand. As these feelings arise, what are you afraid of? What's going on? Why do you feel like you have to text her? Why does she need to know that you exist? Because that's the key thing. What is it like to feel like you don't exist anymore in this person's life? And process those feelings. Because as you process those feelings and you reduce the fuel in that fire, then the behaviors will naturally go away, right? You have to remove the emotional energy that leads to the clingy behaviors. It's not sufficient to just not text. Because then what'll happen is if you force yourself to not text, you'll force yourself to not text and then it'll be a tension in you. It'll start to build up. Don't text, don't text, don't text, don't text, don't text. And then it'll reach a cresting point and then you won't be able to control it. And then it's going to be like, it's like a release where you have to text. You can't control it. Oh, I have to text. And then you feel like, oh, thank God. Okay, like,
so what should you do?
Notice me. I can't control myself. Notice me. And then she's like, what's happening here? You're doing all this, you're dancing this whole opera in your head and she doesn't know how to keep up. And so then she withdraws. So understand the emotions that arise first and foremost and work on those emotions. Work on those needs. Understand what your emotional needs are in the relationship and how they evolve. And the only way that a successful relationship is going to work is when your emotional needs can be at least understood by the other person. And then hopefully, if you're lucky, that person is willing to meet you halfway and try to do what they can for your emotional needs. Great post.
Was that the video?
So then someone else is saying, how do you handle when she is really leaving? You let her go.
There's more.
Right? So this is hard, but someone's asking, how do you handle when she's really leaving? So the answer is simple. You let her go. And this is the key thing. What makes it hard to let her go? Because we assume that the reason she's leaving is because of us. Whereas the truth is that most people in life, when they part ways, they do so because of 1,000 reasons that have nothing to do with you, right? If you think about the friends that I had in high school, why am I not friends with most of them anymore? It's because of circumstance. I went to high school, then I went to college in a different city, and then I went to medical school in a different state, and then I did residency in the same state, but people went their separate ways. And so I entered people's lives and then I left people's lives. And it has nothing to do with them, because that's what life is, right? Life is like a meeting of it's moments in time where you connect with another human being. And for some people, those moments are short, and for some people, those moments are long. And you have to understand that not everything in the world, people leaving your life may not have anything to do with you. And even in the sense, if it does have something to do with you, that's okay too. Because even if someone says, hey, I don't think we're compatible, that's okay, right? You're not going to be compatible with every person on the planet. You're not going to be compatible with every person that you date. That's the reason that you date. And you let people go their way and you go your way. Because at the end of the day, if someone wants to leave you, let them. What are you going to do? Pin them down and force them into a relationship with you? You deserve a better relationship with that. The relationship that you want is one where someone wants to be with you and feels comfortable being with you. That's what you really deserve, is a real relationship. So it's tough. Yeah, I like You on Netflix. I think it's great. I'm on season 2 right now.
Hmm.
Okay. So do we need shorter text messages? Absolutely. Right? So like I don't know how, like, you can't expect someone to keep up with all of the stuff that you're doing in your head. No relationship is going to work like that. Right? When you're like working through bunches of anxiety, there's tons of anxieties floating out there. And you try to communicate with someone over text, like they're not going to, like, they're operating with like 10% of the information where your text is coming from. So that's not going to work. So you have to let people know, like, you either have to process the crap in your head so that you're kind of back on the same page with them, or you need to let them know where you are so that you give them the opportunity to like catch up to you. And the
It
more
takes
you
two to
progress up here,
tango.
like the more you build castles in the sky or read into relationships or like think that the relationship is more than it is. Check out OnlyFans, for example. The more blindsided the other person is going to be. Like, how is someone supposed to participate in a relationship where you've advanced it 10,000 years in your head?
Yeah, I think that was my mistake.
Yeah, so someone's saying,
But I also got the
I can't
wrong
avoid being
signals
so attached because I can't
and
make friends.
didn't just read
Absolutely, right? So
signals
that's the same
wrong,
as this post. That's why I shared it, and I thought it was a great post. Because it is the inability to make friends that
I
makes
believe.
every potential friend so much more attached. You get so attached to everyone. And it's the fact that you get so attached to them that you kind of drive them away. And so you're kind of stuck in this loop of like, I have no friends, and therefore anytime I have the possibility of a friend, I put too much on them because you take all that luggage from the past and you dump it into this relationship. And when you dump it on them, it's too much for them to handle, so then they leave. And then when they leave you a piece of luggage too. So now you've got one more piece of luggage, and then the next person comes along, and you dump 10 pieces of luggage on them. And it's like too much for them to handle. They're like, I can't carry all this stuff. And then they leave, and then you have 11 pieces of luggage. So it's really hard. Don't get me wrong, it's very hard. And so that's where I think the solution is to like let go of the luggage, right? Like you have to work through that stuff. You have to work through what's it like being alone year after year after year. What's it like engaging in relationship after relationship after relationship? So it's an infinite loop only if that's the loop that you keep doing. Remember, there are other things that you can do. You can offload the luggage, right? You can see a therapist, you can work with a coach. I think group coaching is a really good avenue for this kind of thing because it's like an opportunity for people to form relationships with each other that have very good, strict boundaries. So it's like a way to practice talking to each other, communicating your feelings. Like it's like how to make friends 101. Because in group, we don't let you be friends. So we're going to teach you all of these skills. And as you bring luggage into the relationship and you want to play games with someone, we're going to say, no, you're not allowed to do that. Instead of playing games with them because you feel connected, talk about how you want to play games with them. Vocalize your feelings. Understand what's going on the inside. Right? Bring all your luggage. By all means, toss it our way. We're ready to take it, but we're not going to give into it. We're not going to give you the relationship that you want to. What we're going to do is help you unburden yourself of the luggage. So I think group coaching is very good for this. So if you guys have this problem of being lonely and like driving people away and like having difficulty interacting with other human beings, group coaching is literally, it's like 12 weeks of training about like how to interact with other human beings, how to listen, how to be heard, how to vocalize your feelings, how to connect with other people, how to understand yourself, how to understand other people, how to step aside from your own biases and really listen to someone else.
Again, very good video by Healthy Gamer, Healthy Gamer GG.
Okay, this is a good one, chat.
That was a good one. I believe I have these castles in my head, and I keep building on top, adding more luggage, thinking the other person would understand, have the same blueprint. But right now, what I'm mentioning is more so what I was in my former self and how I went into relationships. Still, in this last one, it was similar. I didn't really understand it in a way that I am now, where nowadays I would try and absolutely kick it in the form of trying to match their energy, their level, and especially in regards of what I want from the relationship, I would let them know. That's how it is nowadays. But yeah, all the rest was the sandcastle in my head. And I guess some of it still lingers. But it is great having watched this video now. That was good. Yeah, I think I got sent wrong signals too. I might not be the only one at fault to whatever happened. What actually did happen? It is crazy how much I learn. How do I stop lusting over a streamer? Why your relationships fall apart in attachment theory? I think we watch this next, but not today. It's a little longer. Why you feel unlovable? Your interview. People get wrong about modern dating. Let's see what is this.
Hey, Dr. K.
What is modern dating?
In the past, you mentioned what contributes to making friends, meeting potential partner, unplanned regular interaction plus shared goal. What are your thoughts on and tips regarding meeting people over the internet and online dating now that is our only option? A side question, how do you jump a bridge between introductory small talk and free-flowing conversation? I've matched with girls.
This must have been during COVID. 3 years, yeah. So now that it's our only option and it remains and becomes even more so, the fact.
On Tinder, not exclusive to online interaction. Before virus, met people with something in common at parties, but never started a conversation.
World.
Being terrified of not knowing what I should say to spark interest and have the other side engage back. Is there something internally holding back that I should think about and digest, or is there a technique that can help me get through? Okay. So chat, I've been thinking about this for a long time. I think we gotta come up with like a, how to date and meet people by Dr. K. Because I'm okay, we're gonna talk about this. Okay. How do you jump a bridge between introductory small talk and free-flowing conversation? Being terrified of not knowing what I should say to spark interest and have the other side engage back. So this is the key thing. Okay. All right. So let's think about this. Okay, chat. All right. Stay with me now. Okay. So here's the thing. When y'all talk to someone, it's not your job to spark interest. It's not your job to make the other person engage back. I want you guys to think about interactions with, we're going to assume a heteronormative and male standpoint. Your job is not to make them like you or get them interested. Your job, you're like a street vendor who has a table of stuff that is laid out, right? So your job is to lay out the stuff on the table, and if they're interested, they'll play the game. But it's not about saying the right thing or the wrong thing. It's about saying what you have to say. And so like put yourself out there, right? So I don't mean dick pic. That's a terrible idea under all circumstances. But I mean like, especially if you're a male, like, do a little bit of the male dance. And so there's small talk, but then like, I think there are a couple of questions that you can ask, like what was 2020 like for you? So that's like a great kind of open-ended question. But generally speaking, you want to show people like who you are. And if they're interested in that, they'll engage with you. And if they're not interested in that, they won't. But what you don't want to do is like try to get them to spark interest and try to get them to engage with you by like being something that's inauthentic, because then it's like you're just setting yourself up for failure down the road. So just be who you are and be authentic. As it turns out, in my experience, most women find that attractive, right? When you're just like authentic and fun. And like when you're cognitively focused on like enjoying yourself and being who you are, as opposed to like trying to be something that you're not, which is like so cognitively intense that you're like living a lie and there's all this like subconscious processing going on. Like you just can't, you're not relaxed. You're overthinking it. You're less fun. So just be who you are and let other people engage. I mean, even if you're a woman, it goes both ways, right? So you shouldn't try to be a particular thing for a man. Or if you're gay, you shouldn't try to be a particular thing for your partner or someone that you're attracted to. Just be who you are and display that. And for the people that are interested, they'll respond. So does that make sense? Like I want you guys to not try to get something to get them to like you. It's sort of like, be who you are. And if they're interested, great. Because you're probably pretty interesting. And if they're interested, cool. So like then you guys can build on that. And it's like it's a relationship that's founded on authenticity. Now, how do you break in between small talk and free flowing conversation? This is where like you gotta, like there's some notes to take here, okay? So open-ended question, followed by like investigative response, and then a little bit of sharing. 2-to-1 question to answer ratio. Okay. So like this is where, oh, what was 2020 like for you? Oh, interesting. Okay. Oh, wow. That sounds crazy. Oh, you got a cat. Cool. Tell me about your cat. Awesome. And then you're like, yeah, you can toss in like, I'm definitely allergic to cats, but now it's like tough because I clearly want to meet your cat and I'm totally into you, but I'm allergic to cats. So it's like, do I choose, allergies or continuing to, shoot my shot with you? I don't know. And then like, this is also where like, I'd make your intentions known like pretty early. Okay. You got to let her know, like you got to flirt, bros. You'd be like, oh man, that's a real pity. But maybe I can learn to live with allergies for you. Like if it involves you, like absolutely, I can learn to adjust. Ooh. And then you see how they respond to that. Like if they're like, oh my God, this guy's a creeper. And then you're like, okay, you back off a little bit. Maybe you overplayed your hand, or she giggles, in which case it's like, yeah, let's go, baby. And so introductory small talk, and then like actually get to know the person, because what you're thinking about is like, you're thinking about dating this person, right? So like you want to get to know, like, is this person interesting? What are they into? What are you into? How does that, and then like try to engage with them around topics that like seem interesting to both of you guys. So ask a couple of open-ended questions. I think there are a lot of questions that people tend to ask that like people feel put on the spot. So steer clear of yes or no questions, steer clear of like questions about like, if you want to do like, what do you do for a living? I don't think that's an interesting question. What was 2020 like for you is a good one. What's something that you're excited about for 2021 is a good one, right? So you get to like learn a little bit about their interests. You can be like authentically curious about what they have to say. You can share a little bit. I think there are like a lot of questions like that you can ask that will sort of open up the discussion. What do you think about love? I think that sounds like it's coming on a bit too strong. Is Dr. K a pickup artist? Certainly not. The last person I picked up was 17 years ago. So I'm dated, to say the least. Yeah. Smiling is important, right? And then like the other thing is, remember, y'all can be authentic. So this is what I think is sort of the trump card, which can really like, you can make or break you. But if you're having trouble talking to a girl because you don't know like what to say to her, just walk up to her and be like, for the last 10 minutes, I've been trying to think about how to strike up a conversation with you because I think you're absolutely gorgeous and I haven't been able to come up with anything. Can you help me out? Just tell her, like lay it out there, like be authentic. And like, I've been racking my brain because I'd love to get to know you better, but I just can't think of anything. Right? And just be authentic, dudes. Right? Be authentic. And then we'll see how she responds. And she's like, oh yeah, that's a sweet thought, but I'm really not interested. And you can say, okay, thanks for letting me know. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your night. And then you don't go barking up the wrong tree. Like it's also like very important to respect boundaries, right? Like you don't want to push them. And then you can even like, this is where you can do a little bit of like asking for permission. And you can say, okay, I get what you're saying. Sounds like you're not interested. If I think of something good later on in the night, like let's say the two of y'all are at a bar or whatever, like if I think of something really, really good, can I take another swing? And then she'll either say yes or no. And like, that's like, you're asking for permission. You're making your intentions known. You're respecting her boundaries, but you're also letting her know, like, you're not going to quite give up right away. And then if she says like, yeah, you can take another shot at it, you're like, fantastic. And then I don't know. Based or cringed? I don't know what based means. Right? Does that make sense, guys? Like you want to be like respectful, but you want to be like authentic, like respectful, authentic, respect the boundary, make her laugh, be funny, have confidence. It's like authentic. That's the way. And then if she's like, no, I'm seeing someone, you're like, awesome. Good for you. And good for that dude, presuming it's a dude. And then you move on with your life. But I can fucking guarantee you that over the next 24 hours, she will think about you at least once. At least once.
But that's where is the modern dating?
And like, it's cool. Like, even if she rejects you, which it's not really a rejection, it's just she's seeing someone. at the end of the day, like you're still going to make her feel good about herself, right? So like you've made the world, like even if it's like rejection on your part, you made the world like a slightly better place because you've helped a woman or man or whatever feel attractive and feel wanted by another human being, which is an awesome gift to give, right? Even if there's no relationship, and like you guys are way too caught up in how it's like affecting you, like, oh my god, she said no, I'm so embarrassed. But like, yeah, she said no, but as long as you're not cringe about it, which we'll talk about, cringe is all about boundaries and respecting boundaries. But as long as you're not cringe, then, like even if she turns you down, it's like she's going to wake up the next morning and feel like she's an attractive woman, which is like an awesome thing, right? So we live in a society where we're taught that we're unattractive because of, magazines and Instagram filters and all that kind of crap. So if you can help someone feel a little bit attractive about themselves, like, cool. All right. Sure. Cool. So welcome.
Thank you.
I think someone asked me a loaded question about what I thought about polyamorous relationships. I don't know if you heard my answer.
Wait, what was your answer?
My answer was I haven't seen really any that are very successful, but there's a big selection bias because the people who tend to come to me tend to be unhappy with something.
Mm-hmm,
right? So all the happy people in polyamorous relationships probably never walk in my door.
I think it all depends on what the relationship is like, right? Like,
sure,
that too. Like, there's tons of relationships that are monogamous that doesn't work out either.
Absolutely.
So I think it all depends on like where the boundaries are and stuff like that. And like, I mean, I feel like there definitely has to be like more trust and stuff in an open or polyamorous relationship, and you need to like balance each other out, I think.
Yeah.
And if you don't, yeah, then it's gonna be even worse probably than a monogamous relationship, I think.
I'll watch this later, maybe. I don't know. I'm getting tired, guys. I think that's the day for today. So yeah, a little bit of content. The videos we watched were okay. Was a good one as well. I'll upload it tomorrow. And we're gonna come back tomorrow. Tomorrow is push day. But I'm not sure if I'll be on time. I have the internet guy come, and even if I would be on time, I don't know if my internet would be good. Like right now, I'm very happy it's just stable as it is. But you see before, like we disconnected twice during stream. So this is how it goes all day. So I don't know. We have to see. But thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you tomorrow then. And thank you. GG, thank you. Bye.